As always, we promise to deliver the biggest names in sports, and I'm so honored to be alongside a gentleman who is always fixated on the process of taking his Dallas Mavericks to the next level. Of course, we're talking about the general manager and the president, Donnie Nelson. Donnie, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem, Elissa. High five, Elissa.
Absolutely. Well, there is a lot of mystique to this particular season on how it is going to unfold with the reconstructed roster, and you guys have already had to navigate through some injuries, but you've teased us a bit with a win against the Lakers and against Portland. How do you think everything's going to fill out?
It's been a really interesting preseason and first, part of the regular season. Rick has done an unbelievable job. He's got 9 new faces out there. He's pushing a lot of buttons. These guys haven't played a lot together. And so, and then having, gone over the homecoming situation with Dirk over in Europe kind of threw us another little twist, but the guys used that as an opportunity to really kind of get to know themselves, get to know each other rather, like off the court. We didn't have a lot of practice time, so we honestly were a little concerned coming into, locking horns with the LA Lakers that early in the season. But they stepped up the test. When the bright lights came on, the boys showed up, and so far so good. They're playing like they've played together for the last couple of years.
You bring up head coach Rick Carlisle, and I think back to the month of September in the preseason when he cautioned all of us that it's not where you start on day 1, but where you finish on day 181, and it's a systematic process. It's going to take some time to develop, correct?
Well, that's what we thought, but and again, it's this is not enough of a sampling to really garner exactly what we have, but it's a good start. We'll take it. We do think, we've been shooting the ball really well, which covers up a lot of sins in the NBA, but the guys have really come together, and in short order, they've, they've won some games against some pretty darn good opponents. Certainly, we're on a little homestand here, so we want to take advantage of that, and then the whole game plan is to hold the fort down until, the German cavalry comes over the hill and can take everything we're doing to a different level.
And Donnie, we are only 2 years removed from winning a world championship. And when you think back to that season, Dirk missed 9 games, Caron Butler was out, but it was about your team getting hot at the right time, the team camaraderie, and never, ever underestimate the resolve of a Rick Carlisle team.
Yeah, we're blessed. We've always had really good chemistry here, and it's a result of, Mark and Rick and myself, really trying to get good character guys in that locker room. We've had our quote-unquote, Dennis Rodman moments where we'll take a chance on someone, but for the most part, we've really tried to get high character people in the locker room. And what happens is when you go through hard times, those guys, come together instead of fraction apart. And we had a tough preseason. It was, going to Europe and having a lot of different things kind of thrown our way. But the guys really pulled together, and it's manifested itself in this start of the season.
Donnie, you are the president, you're the general manager, but you have also spent time in this league as an assistant coach and, of course, under your father. So you're always dialing up the X's and O's. What particular area would you like to see your team improve upon? You just mentioned, they're shooting the ball extremely well, minimize turnovers against Portland. They only had 9 single-digit turnovers. That's fantastic. But I'm thinking about that rebounding stat. How can we improve upon that?
I mean, that's the one that stands out and the one that we really have to focus in on, without Dirk. And then without, Chris Kaman for the start, the opening of the season, it's really been an area of focus. We've had to play small. Rick's really changed the lineups up, so we're really relying on, the 1, the 2, and the 3, the guards and the small forwards to really take up some of the slack in that area.
Donnie, you guys are facing, as you're saying, with these smaller lineups, you're facing superior length, but rebounding on the offensive end, I don't think it's necessarily so much about effort, but I mean, that obviously is important, but getting to know the familiarity with your teammates and where their sweet spots are on the floor and where they're going to shoot the ball and then when you need to pursue it, correct?
Yeah, it's there's two discussions there. One is the offensive rebound. That's really an effort stat, and that's just getting in the train of thought to go after the ball and expecting that every shot that is taken is going to be missed, and it's that mentality. So that's something that you try to ingrain in your players. In terms of the playing together, that's just gonna come with time. I mean, we're still early in the season. We've shot the ball well. We've performed well, but you still got 9 new faces, and you've got to just let that come together like chemistry. It really kind of seeks its own level.
The Dallas Mavericks right now stand at 3-1, and you've mentioned head coach Rick Carlisle. It's hard to believe he's already in his 5th season here. You guys have ties that go way back in the day to Worcester Academy. I think you were a Hilltopper back in the day,
I
right?
was,
okay.
yes.
Talk about why you and Mark decided that he was the right man for this job, because he's been so successful and, in my biased opinion, perhaps the best coach in the NBA.
Well, I wouldn't disagree. At the time, we had gone through a very, very difficult, situation where, we had our arms around the trophy in 2006, and then, happened, ended up in Miami, and then the next year we had, really tough series against my dad and the Golden State Warriors, and, we had Avery that was a really solid, great, young coach and a defensive-minded coach, and my dad that was really, when he was here, he was really one of the, high-octane offensive coaches, and Rick covered a lot of ground for us. He was in the middle with emphasis on both. He was a player's coach, and for a young coach, he had racked up, victories in 2 very difficult situations in Indiana and Detroit. So he had the skins, he had the experience, he had been out a year, and I think a lot of times that's a positive thing for a coach to be able to grow, because you visit other coaches and learn. It's almost a sabbatical where you learn, different ways of doing things. And then, the sealer for us was just the kind of person he is. He is a terrific, high-integrity guy that dates all the way back with our involvement in Worcester Academy, as you mentioned. So it was a fairly easy decision, and I set up the meeting, and Mark obviously signs off on everything that we do here. So he and Mark hit it off, and we signed him.